I'm Chris Smith. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, so Josh Taylor loses his world title and his undefeated streak to Teofimo Lopez. Now, I felt that Josh Taylor, going into this fight, how this fight would be determined would be how Josh Taylor made the weight. How did he feel? And I don't know if I was right or wrong on that one. I felt that he looked okay on the scales compared to what he normally does. Inactivity, arguably, but at the end of the day, I don't think it would have really mattered because Teofimo Lopez was just better than Josh Taylor. He was better than him in pretty much every department. Now, not to say that Josh Taylor wasn't in the fight, of course he was, but he started off well the first 2 or 3 rounds, but then it just became the Teofimo Lopez show. It did. His flamboyance, his speed, his accuracy, and you could see his confidence. He knew that he had Josh Taylor in his pocket. He knew it. And Josh Taylor looked like a fish out of water. He didn't know what to do with him. And that's the reality of it. And even hurt Josh Taylor on a couple of occasions where if Teofimo Lopez had landed another good shot, there's a very real chance that the Josh Taylor would have went down and stayed down. But ultimately, you have to give massive credit to Teofimo Lopez. No matter how you look at it, whether people agree with the scorecards or not, where 2 of the judges had it 113, 115, and the other judge had it 111, 117. For me, I felt that Teofimo Lopez won that fight by 3-4 rounds. I'm going to say 4 rounds. But regardless of whether you think that the 2 scorecards that were relatively close was too close, it's kind of irrelevant because ultimately Teofimo Lopez won the fight. But you could have, I suppose you could argue it and say, well, Teofimo Lopez had to win the last 3 rounds in order to win the fight, going by the judges' scorecards. And you have to say that was a little unfair. I felt that Teofimo Lopez was pretty much in control of that fight. From round 4 onwards, he was in control of that fight. He really was. But I said, not to say that Josh Taylor wasn't in the fight at all. Of course he was. But Teofimo Lopez just rose to the occasion. And I think he's a big fight night fighter, if that makes sense. When you're fighting somebody, say, like Sandor Martin, it's not exactly a huge fight. So you kind of fight to their level, if you like. And it's arguable that Sandor Martin beat Teofimo Lopez. Arguable. But at the end of the day, when he's been in there with Lomachenko, and now he's been in there with Josh Taylor, he rises to the occasion. He does. Whether people like him, loathe him, however. But I don't know if this was just one fight too many with Josh Taylor. You could say that the writing was on the wall when he fought Jack Catterall. He looked like he'd missed a couple of beats and he was on the slide. Could it be the weight? Genuinely, I don't know what it is, but maybe he just found his level at 140. Maybe it's time for him to move up to 147 and see what he's got. But Teofimo Lopez, coming up from 135 to 140, he's going to have speed. He knows how to negate a southpaw. That's not a problem for him. In some ways, it was a bit of a silly move for Josh Taylor. It was a risky move, but it's not for the first time Josh Taylor has taken risky moves. He's always come out on top, but not on this one. So congratulations to Teofimo Lopez. He definitely won that fight. For me, I think he dominated him. He did. Once he figured him out in round 4, I want to say round 4, it was a Teofimo Lopez show. It was, and Josh Taylor just couldn't live with him. He just couldn't. Now, I've seen that Josh Taylor's asking for a rematch and he feels that he'll beat him in a rematch. I don't think so. I think that stylistically, Teofimo Lopez will pretty much always have his number. Listen, anything's possible in boxing, of course it is. You know, one punch changes the direction of most fights. But I can't see how he can adjust and get him. I really can't. So if I'm Josh Taylor, I'm looking at moving up. Generally, I think he's had a fight or two too long at 140. For me, when he won the undisputed fight, he should have just vacated the belts and moved up. But, of course, he had promised Jack Catterall the fight, which is why Jack Catterall stepped aside. But, listen, I think that Teofimo Lopez, let's give him credit, okay, because he beat the number 1 in the division. By far and wide, the number 1 in the division. Former undisputed champion. Josh Taylor, he can hold his head up high, of course, and he did go to his opponent's backyard, but he came up short. It is what it is. But, you know what, it'd be interesting to see what he does at 147. I'd like to see him take on, say, Keith Thurman, someone like that. Let's see where he is at 147. But anyway, congratulations to Teofimo Lopez. Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.